Hello, everybody. Happy Western Wednesday. I hope everyone's having the best Wednesday that they could be having right now. We're all probably a little tired. Don't know about you guys. So we move right into things. We're at welcome. I'm going to do roll call. I think we do have a good amount of people here. So Senator Anna Griggs. People are still coming in.
I'm here.
Okay. Senator Bipin Busol-Shiriti.
Yep, I am here.
Awesome. Senator Brian Taylor. Senator Brian Taylor. Senator Cody Miller Holcomb.
Here.
Senator Dakota Shapiro.
Here.
Senator D. Unique Doris.
Here.
Senator Elijah Lewis. Senator Elijah Lewis. Senator Alicia.
I'm sorry. Here, President. I'm trying to get my stuff together.
You're good. Senator Alicia Ewing.
Present.
Senator Hannah Pastor. Senator Hannah Pastor. Senator Ileana Amuridin. Senator Ileana Amuridin. Senator Kyle Fitzsimmons.
I'm here.
Senator Lauren McCray. Senator Lauren McCray. Senator Leslie Gonzalez.
Here.
Senator Madison Smith.
Here.
Senator Parker DeMarco. Senator Parker DeMarco. Senator Piper Meldrum Roy.
Here.
Senator Sabina Tamang.
Present.
Senator Samantha Martino. Senator Samantha Martino. Senator Sean Rowan. Senator Sean Rowan. Senator Seth Byrne.
Here.
Awesome. I'll try and get everyone as they file in, and if you missed roll call, feel free to send me a private message. With that, we'll move into positional reports, which are on the minutes that you do get sent out. We do not have any communications, so we can move right into the approval of the minutes that were sent out to you in the email today. I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
Motion to approve the minutes.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there consent?
Consent.
Is there any opposition? Seeing that there is none, we can move to the approval of the agenda. I will entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
Motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
Is there consent?
Consent.
Is there anyone against? Seeing that there is none, we can move right along. There are no guest speakers. We have no unfinished business. For committee breakouts, I have been in discussion with a few senators who did have new people approved. I will have those out by Friday. And if you do have issues with those, you can contact me privately, email, whatever. Now we can move into new business. Our first item of business is the Student Recreation Center collaboration request. So I don't know if there is a slide for that, Eric, or anything, if you want to present that.
Not to my knowledge, no.
Okay.
I'm not seeing Mike Grodowski in attendance yet. I would suggest a table until he's present. If any senator wants to make that motion.
I will entertain a motion to table the Student Rec Center collaboration request until Bird is present to speak about that. If anyone would like to make a motion to table that until maybe later on so that he can get there. Don't be shy. I mess up all the time. It's not scary. It's fun. We can sit here, really.
Can you repeat what the motion is for?
A motion to table the Student Rec Center collaboration request, and we can put it at the end of new business or wherever you see fit.
I make a motion to table the rec center request until we get our lives together.
Second the motion.
All right, I will move. I take that as moving it to the end of new business. Is there consent?
Consent.
All right. If there is no opposition, the Student Rec Center collaboration request will be moved to the end of new business. Next, we will have the sponsorship fund spending bill. I can pull that up if Eric, you'd like to speak about that. Or is that also?
Yeah, sure thing. So this was kind of something that came into my mind, and I discussed this with Executive Vice President Wright, who was the CHOFA last year about this. What it comes down to is we have a collaboration fund, which is where organizations come to us. They felt their collaboration request, kind of like the SRC. We give them money and we assist them. We work with them through a process. Now we also have the operational budget, which is more for keeping WSA running. So, example, paying our Zoom subscription every month. What we found is that there's no great budget fund for sponsorships. So, for example, when we sponsor the Turkey Trot or Bronco Bash, we give money to the organization that's hosting it, but we really don't have any involvement in what happens with that money after it's kind of been given away. So this is to make it easier for organizations to come and get sponsorship funds. So they don't have to fill out the entire collaboration process because WSA is not as heavily involved with it. So it's just trying to make it more transparent on where the money's coming from and where it's going.
That was beautifully put. Are there any questions?
A question?
Yeah.
I think I'm reading this right, but this isn't additional funding. This is basically, there's simply a transfer from an existing budget to create basically another budget for this purpose only. Am I reading that right?
Yes, you are. We are
Okay.
not acquiring any new funds or expending any new funds. It's just shifting them around a little bit.
Thank you.
I'll also take any discussion points on the spending bill.
Could I ask another quick question? Could you clarify the difference between sponsorship and collaboration? Is it just based on how much we are involved in the spending of the money?
That's generally, yes, correct. For example, for Bronco Bash, we gave $1,500 to them as is usual for WSA, but really didn't have a say as what they did with that money. It was more so what they felt would be best with how that money was best used. Whereas when we use a collaboration, we're specifically saying, okay, we want to use for this, and we're going to use like these dates. It has to have these requirements. And there's a lengthy form with numerous requirements that RSOs and other organizations can submit to get funding from WSA.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Are there any other questions or possibly discussion points?
Are sponsorships limited to just like university departments, or can RSOs request sponsorships too? Because I know Bronco Bash is like the OSC and Turkey Trize Rec Center, but yeah.
Currently, there are no restrictions on who can request a sponsorship.
Are there any other questions? Is there any discussion points on the bill? If there aren't any, we can move into a vote. I'll give you guys a minute. So that did pass.
Madam Speaker,
Oh, yeah.
since the spending bill did pass, would you like me to display the newly approved, I guess you could say, budget for the fall semester?
Sure.
Okay, just that way everyone sees it. It's all transparent and clear.
Beautiful. We're all about transparency. That was beautiful. Next we are able to move into the SGAT confirmations. I know that there are two of them. We have Olympia and Apple. I'm so sorry if that's not how you pronounce it. I'm sure it's not. And then Campbell. Are they both present?
Yes, they are both attendees right now.
So first we do have Leland and Apple. Are you able to speak? Is it working now?
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah. How do you pronounce your name? I'm so sorry.
It's Olivia and Apple, so you were close.
Olivia and Apple. Awesome. Vice President Eric, did you get any? Yep. You know exactly what to do. So Olivia, you can go in and talk about yourself now.
Okay. Do we want Sage to go first? Oh, okay, I can go. So I'm Olivia. I am a senior here at Western. I study psychology, or the behavioral sciences of psychology, and I'm minoring in climate change studies. I have been taking sustainability courses since my freshman year here at Western. So I know a lot about sustainability and climate science. I've taken courses in environmental science, geography, and even psychology related to climate change. So I know a lot about human behavior and the planet, and those are just two of the many things that I can bring to this position.
Awesome. Are there any questions for Olivia?
I do have a question for Olivia. So where do you feel the importance lies, especially given everything that's going on this year, in making sure, or in utilizing the intersection of behavioral science and climate science?
I think just like education in general. So whether that be for the people who are educated on climate change and climate science and how to act sustainably, whether that be educating those who aren't, or just like spreading the word on climate change just in general.
Thank you.
What are some of your ideas for like spreading the word on that climate change?
To be quite honest, we are all kind of on social media. And I remember before my freshman year, during my orientation and my tour and everything, the tour guide talked a lot about how sustainable Western is, but I have not heard a lot about the things that we do behind the scenes other than on that tour. So I think just bringing that to light for just all the students to know like what we are doing and how to be better would be very beneficial, and doing that like via social media would be great just because everyone's already on there.
Are there any other questions for Olivia? For your point of information, Eric, no one has brought that up to be a slate. Someone can make a motion to have them as a slate, but as of right now, we're just voting individually. Is there any other questions for Olivia? If there is none, we're gonna have to kick you out for a hot minute and discuss. Nothing bad, I don't think, but that's just how we roll.
Would you guys mind taking me out as well while you discuss hers?
Are they in a waiting room?
They are both in the waiting room.
Awesome. Are there any discussion points on Olivia?
I can give one. Behavioral science is also one of my majors, and I think behavioral science and intersection with environmental science is increasingly important, and having people that understand how important behavioral approaches are to increasing sustainability is incredibly important right now, especially as we all are distance. And that is something important to bring to the evaluation of sustainability grants, in my opinion.
Are there any other discussion points? I know that Senator Taylor is having mic and camera issues.
From what I've seen, Olivia and heard, Olivia is a great team player. So I think being on the commission with other reps would be good for her and WSA. So I'm excited.
Are there any other discussion points on Olivia? If there is none, we can move into a vote on approving Olivia. I'll give you guys a minute, and as usual, cabinet abstains. All right, do we want to bring her back in?
They're both back.
All right, congratulations, Olivia, you have made it. Woo! So now we can move into everything.
Can you guys hear me all right?
Yeah.
Okay. So my name is Sage Campbell. I'm a second-year master's student. I'm studying industrial organizational behavior management under Dr. Heather McGee, previously under Dr. Alice Dickinson. I have been an instructor for the Behavioral Approaches to Sustainability class. I am a former SSG grant recipient in 2019. I received about $19,000 for the solar bench that you see near Noss Hall. And my undergraduate honors thesis was also part of that project, the effects of QR code prompts posted to the solar charging bench on website visibility. I have a lot of experience around the SSG program. I've been teaching students how to write them for a couple of years now, so I think it would be a good fit.
Are there any questions for Sage?
I have one question, if you don't mind. So I do know that your grant was pretty drawn out due to a lot of technical factors. Do you have any ideas as to how to kind of implement a procedure into the SSG evaluation of the grants as to make them more efficient and cohesive on the campus?
Yeah, so mine was drawn out. I started it, I believe, my junior year, and I finished it my senior year. And the reason it was drawn out was not anything due to the SSG committee or the sustainability office. It was the company that I was working with, and it was facilities management. So I think we need to have a much more streamlined approach to contacting facilities management. And as an SSG committee, there should maybe be some help with kind of directing that approach to facilities management instead of having, you know, undergraduates or graduate students who are trying to put an SSG through have to go contact them themselves because they have not been maybe the fastest at responding sometimes. But I think if there was an organization behind it, then they might be inclined to respond a little bit faster and the grant process would be a lot smoother.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions for Sage? If there is none, we will move into discussion and we will kick out Sage and Olympia again.
Sage has been moved to the waiting room.
Awesome. So are there any discussion points on Sage?
I have a discussion point. I can't necessarily speak to her sustainability work. You know, personally, I haven't been involved in that, but I can say that Sage was employed or has been employed by the Writing Center at Hayworth College of Business and has been a very incredibly professional person to work with. I've worked with her on a number of my papers, and she's very articulate and, you know, well thought of and just a good person overall. So I think, you know, when we look to confirm people into any position, we should also consider what they do outside of, you know, the specific area that we're looking at. And I think, you know, she does a great job and hopefully has everyone's support.
Are there any other discussion points? If there is none, we will move into voting. I'll give you guys a minute. All right, we can invite Sage in.
She has rejoined the meeting.
Welcome back, Sage. Congratulations, you have been approved.
Thanks, guys.
So next on our agenda, we do have the Senator at Large discussion. I don't know if President West or Vice President Wright, you want to take this?
I'm not sure if Taylor's started class yet, but I'll hop in and get the conversation going. I hope everybody's having a Bronco-tastic Wednesday. If you watch our football team, I guess good luck to them. We'll see if they can pull a dub. But we wanted to have a discussion about the open senator seats. Well, not open anymore. The filled senator seats, but that don't belong to a college. So we technically have 8 of those held in the Senate. But we wanted to have a discussion on what we could find for them to possibly represent, because everybody else has something to represent. So I had a couple ideas that I'm just going to shoot them out, and I want it to be a broader conversation between all of us. So if you have ideas, please unmute yourself and add in, and then give us pluses or minuses on what we should potentially do. But the 2 that I thought of would be, 1, senators to represent residence life, students that live in on-campus apartments or dorms, and then also maybe student employees. At Cabinet, we had a larger discussion on it, and someone also mentioned international students, and I think that would be a great place for more representation. But yeah, I'll open it up to you guys to see if you guys had anything to add, or different things to add, or pluses or minuses. But.
I have a point of information.
Go ahead, please.
Sorry, thank you. Which senators are these senators in this group? Can they identify themselves just so we know?
There's a Senate directory, and there's all the senators at large. So you can check there. They're all listed. There should be 5 so far. There's 3 open seats. Senator Shapiro.
Yes, I was under the impression that those seats that were filled by the senators at large were just empty seats for already groups that needed representation. I wasn't aware what happened to why don't they have representation?
So that was just how they were designed. They were just designed to be extra seats. We didn't give them any particular things to represent.
No, but what I mean is I assumed they were positions that I guess you answered my question, but there were positions that had a college that just didn't have anyone apply to be a senator, that's what they were. I wasn't aware that they were just empty open seats.
Oh, that's a good question. So if there's no senator that applied for that college, that seat's supposed to remain open until we get a senator for that college. So for Health and Human Services, we still have an open seat there, I think, as well as Arts and Sciences, we still have an open seat there. So they wouldn't be replacing them there.
They wouldn't, and they couldn't replace it? Is that no? Okay.
Yeah, I guess if they wanted to represent their college, they could go through the House and get approved to represent their college, but they were just approved to represent at large.
Okay, thank you.
Good question.
So what do you all think that these senators could represent? Do you like the ideas that Jacoby threw out? Let's just have a discussion about where these senators can go and who they can represent.
I really like the idea of representing res life because that's what I work in, but I just think that's a really good idea because my whole job is directly interacting with these people and to figure out how they're feeling about living on campus. So when that's already my job anyway, I think it would be really beneficial for me to represent that, or anybody to represent that.
I also really like the residence life because I feel like that doesn't really have very much overlap with the other senators that we already have. That's a completely new category that we could utilize.
Senator Taylor?
Yeah, I know we spoke about it before, but definitely in agreement on the international students. with COVID, as well as a number of issues, this is really one place where they could benefit from representation. And, also speaking to some of the organizations that sort of overlap, for example, our partnership, our sister school, Sunway in Malaysia, the Malaysian Students Association. I just see this as a great job for a great senator. Bravo.
Thank you, Vice President Effinger.
Motion to continue discussion for 7 minutes.
Second.
Consent.
If there is no one against it, then it can continue for 7 minutes, which would be in 7 minutes, so that's 43.
So another question, for those senators, if you represent a college, you reach out to your dean, it's pretty straightforward. Who will assist with guidance on, helping them reach out to the various folks that they should reach out to? Because I think maybe for housing, that's pretty simple, but for the international students, that may not be as clear cut.
Yeah, that's a great question too. I had a meeting with the Hinneka Institute this morning, so I believe that they would be a great resource to partner with and work with. And they also have access to email those students that are international. So it would kind of replace the dean aspect. They have an associate provost, so it might be the associate provost.
Oh, there you go.
And then for Res Life, you would just meet with housing, the department heads over there, maybe even Dr. Anderson, depending on what it is that you all or the senators gather from the information when talking to students. But cabinet can definitely be the guide in getting those senators connected.
Point of information, we're trying to find senators for what exactly? Am I hearing about for campuses, for the campus apartments as well, or campus dorms?
We're trying to find a home for the senators that we already have. So just giving them something to represent, because right now it's very vague.
Okay, and so the options that are on the table were what again?
So far, we've thrown out residence life, student employees, and international students, but that's not all the conversation is limited to.
Okay, never mind then. Okay, perfect.
Yeah, I just want to emphasize Alexis's point because she did bring this up at cabinet. Another option for our senators could be commuter students. So we can have discussion about that as well, if that's something we want to add.
Vice President Theory.
Could we give an opportunity to these senators, assuming they're here today, to voice anything that they would be passionate? Because I would hate to say, hey, you're representing Res Life and they're not in Res Life. Like, I feel like you need to be kind of part of a community if you're going to be specifically representing them like the college senators are.
I know Senator Griggs had a chance to speak. Any of the other senators that don't belong to anything right now have anything to say? Or
Hi, I'd like to speak on this one. I'm an international student, so I think it is a good point to include international student to have someone to represent international students. And previously, I have also served as a vice president and president for one of the RSU, international student RSU. So if we pass to have senator to work for the international students, I'm completely available to work for them. And also, I have a question like it. Since we have different committees for the WSA, is it possible to add a new committee just for the international student organizations, or we have to work under like diversity or something like that for the WSA? Because I'm just approaching this way is because before I came to Western, I have when I first came to US, I was in Seattle, then I transferred to California, and I transferred to Michigan. So while transferring to different colleges, I came to in my past two colleges, there was like under the student government, there was a separate committee for the international students, and they have their own bylaws because all the RSOs in Western, they have like complete different requirements. They have complete different goals than the international student organizations, and I believe that they do need different ways to allocate budget. They do need different bylaws. So is it possible that we can establish new community under the Western student association only for the international students?
I'm not sure. I would defer that probably to Madam Speaker for an answer.
So nothing in our constitution is made for international students specifically, but I do know that with our umbrella of committees that we do have diversity and inclusion, and that would be one thing, maybe also community involvement, but overall we don't have anything in there, but that would be something to bring up maybe with the RBA chair about developing an individual position for that. Because we do have multicultural Greek life as well as like regular Greek life, or you know what I mean. And so just having that in for future, like that'd be something that we could look into. But as of right now for this year, we do not have anything.
Yeah, I was just saying that we don't have anything. So if we want to make one new community, or if we want to discuss on that one, so how should we approach on that and when? So I want to just talk on that one.
I think that if we did move some of the senators at large and we did have a international students like focus with the senators at large, that would be a good umbrella for right now. And then we can look into having something in our constitution and bylaws for next year. That's just my opinion.
Okay, that would be good. Thank you. If anyone have to say anything on this one, please feel free to add.
Yeah, I think this is a great expansion idea. I was just typing a message in the chat. Just kind of figuring out the avenue in which we can have it happen, I think is a more in-depth conversation we could have a later date. But that could also be a little project for you if you did step up to be the senator to represent international students. That could always be a partnership to figure out how we can interpret or incorporate that into our constitution for next year. So I appreciate your idea.
Thank you.
I would say entertain a motion to extend discussion at least 3 more minutes, maybe. We haven't heard from some other senators. Anybody second that?
Second.
Is there consent?
Consent.
I do not hear any opposition, so we will have 3 more minutes.
Senator Byrne, do you have any? Oh.
Yeah, I was just going to jump in real quick. I don't know, it's not really a question or a good topping point, but I guess I was unaware that it was an unassigned position as well. And being that I'm a freshman, I'm not involved in Res Life, and I'm also a domestic student. So while I'm not opposed to assigning this group of senators, to either of those or a different category, I feel as though I'm suited. Kind of like applying for a job and then getting the job and then getting the the requirements and job duties. So it's just a concern I have. Not quite sure. I guess I don't have a strong opinion in terms of the designation of our group, though.
With that, I'd like to recognize that you called yourself a freshman. That's a whole group in itself. Like, we have freshman first year experience, and you could be a great way to understand how do freshmen interact with each other right now, especially during COVID. Like, how are you getting out? It might be harder right now, and like getting involved, like especially you found WSA. So that's a great thing that we could have with having freshmen, but I do understand your point.
Vice President Theory.
Thank you. Is it possible to have the senators communicate with each other and determine amongst themselves what they think may be most appropriate? And because I wouldn't want to set something, in stone in terms of like the Constitution or bylaws, because the senators can change next year and their interests might also change. So we wouldn't want to, force someone to do something that they're like, okay, that really doesn't fit with me.
Vice President Morris.
Yeah, actually, Henry, I would kind of counter that and say, like, if we can identify areas that we all believe that need representation, it might suck for the sheriff, and if any of the senators that are already elected into the position don't feel comfortable representing that entity, then we can find a creative solution. But I personally feel like if we have these areas of campus that we've identified, we can review them every so often, each administration or every few administrations, and decide if we need more representation elsewhere. I would just hate to see groups that we identify be pushed under the rug because people don't necessarily think that they don't need representation when they do. So with that, I yield.
I would agree with that. I think with a dynamic allocation for that group, it might be hard to get work done between years. So I wouldn't disagree with that.
The discussion has expired for this. We can either extend time or we can move on. I feel like we kind of left it a little bit open, so I will entertain a motion to extend it if anyone wants to.
Motion to exhaust?
Until all discussion has been exhausted, yeah.
Was that a motion to?
Motion to extend it for 5 minutes.
A motion to exhaust was made first.
I second the exhaust.
Okay, is there consent? That means we go until we can't go any further. It's out of gas,
We'll make it quick.
Yeah. Is there consent?
Consent.
Awesome. I do not hear any people against it, so we can continue.
Senator Lewis, I saw that you had something to say a little bit up. Did you still have a comment, question?
I just want to give like a different perspective. I definitely think that by doing this, it's a huge step for Western Michigan, as far as like representation and accountability. One of the things that I feel like a lot of us are working on in our respective fields. One thing I am concerned about, not to be pessimistic, but you always have to, think about both sides, is having so much representation that it's hard to, I want to say this correctly, that it's hard to organize them or control. I really don't want to use the word control, but bear with me, guys. I'm going to use the word control. So much so that, say, for instance, somewhere over the rainbow, when we all are back in person and we're all face to face, that we have now like several different areas. So now, like, if we ever end up in this position again, we don't want to have like 20 open spots, and now we're trying to find somebody to fill all those spots. So although I'm not saying what we're saying is wrong, I'm not saying that I disagree with anything. That's not what I'm saying. I just hope that one of the things that I would urge everybody is to be intentional about doing stuff like this, or wanting representation for every particular thing, like the Student Center. Then I know that you also, President West, also sent out something for the Bernard Center. So as we get more representation, that's great. But we also have to think, well, who's going to manage all of that? Or if there's ever a moment where we're in a situation like this, we're going to have to start filling those. I hope that makes sense.
Senator Shapiro.
Yeah, so I can echo sort of what Elijah's saying, or like agree. Hopefully we're like a sort of half there. But it seems like if we do, like he said, get representation for every little group, we're gonna have a lot of overlapping representation, which is like can be good, like maybe in US politics, but here at the student level, that's a lot of people almost competing with each other to represent and get stuff done for the same student body. So I also would like to know, like, just a, like a reiteration, how many seats are there? Like how many senators at large do we have?
For the entire Senate? Or
No, just the senator at large group, the ones who don't.
5?
5. Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. Thank you.
5 confirmed, yep.
So I'm not seeing, oh, okay. Vice President Morris.
Sorry. I was just thinking, like, based off of that, and if that is kind of the consensus that people feel like we might be tapping into the same, I guess like, what I'm hearing is that we're worried about over tapping into the exact same student body because our identities kind of overlap. My suggestion would be is that we still have these people representing something, but maybe that they can partner with the different academic colleges. Like each academic college has international students. Each academic college has like commuter students. Like each of these are already kind of identified in these different organizations. So if like we have a senator who's solely representing international students, then they can make sure that they partner with academic colleges. Or if there's 2, it might be easier. So that'd be my suggestion.
For information, so are we saying that if we were to do that, then say for instance, like the College of Education and Human Development, would it be technically 3 senators, 2 for this seat, and then 1 for the, and then the third one? I mean, just the way that you said it in my mind, it sounds like it will end up being 3, right? Because then all senators will be working together, all senators will be exchanging the same similar information. So I guess
So in my head, I was thinking that like it would be more like, so take one topic, say international students. This is one that comes to top of mind. We have 2 senators that are representing international students, and then they kind of split the academic colleges. So they're not necessarily associated with one specific academic college. They'd be representing quite a few of them and working with the existing senators for those colleges who know their colleges better than that person does. But that person has insight into international because they're dealing with international admissions or different offices on campus. Like they have another perspective that they can add.
Yeah, and piggybacking off of that, these senators have a little bit of fluidity in what they can do. So Alexis's point of partnering with other academic colleges is good because it promotes collaboration and unity, which is what we should be doing anyways. But just to answer your question more in depth, Senator Lewis, they would have more flexibility in what they can do. So they could take different avenues versus kind of the senators. I was looking at Eric's comment, opposed to the senators who are delegated to colleges. They sort of have like maybe one avenue they can go on, but these other senators have different avenues they can choose from. So we're just trying to narrow down what topics or communities that these senators can represent. Based on conversation, I'm hearing that Res Life is a solid one. International students is a solid one. What do we feel about like commuter students, transfer students?
A point of information for that, which is why which goes back to my first question I asked Vice President, right? There is campus activities making progress that specifically works with commuter students and representing the students that live in the apartments and kind of figuring out and being the voice for them as to how they can be engraved more with the school at large. So that's kind of why I was asking my first original question is, although we're looking for representation, that's kind of like what I mean as far as like the problem with the overlap, because if we have somebody represent resident life, that's what that group was created for. So if we were to go ahead and do what we're saying now, then my question would be, what happens to camp, who also is funded and gets money through residence life?
I would say it promotes, more collaboration more than anything, because that's what we really want to drive, collaboration and working with our other campus partners. Senator Shapiro.
Yeah, so as we're figuring this out and trying to find a place for these senators, I'm noticing that we're entering territory that that almost like we're changing the definition of what's to be a senator, like who's a senator. Like when it comes to the bylaws here, there are certain like responsibilities senators that belong to academic colleges have to do. Well, as these guys gain their flexibility, you know, and have different like say they're representing the freshmen, or they're representing student life, or they're representing international students. Not all those responsibilities can be done by those specific senators. Not only can they not be done by those senators, because they're so fluid, some of them are, it almost fundamentally changes like what their position is. So it kind of begs the question if we should find a different place in the WSA for these 5 senators rather than being senators. Because what we're doing, it seems to be, is we're changing the definition to try and fit them in. And if we change the definition for some, we have to change it for all to fit them all. So that's just something I'd like to bring up.
Yeah, and I'll just respond to that by saying that this is just a conversation. We're not making any changes yet. We kind of want to get a pulse to see where you guys are.
No, I know we're not changing anything yet, but like I'm saying, as we're discussing it, that's the territory we're going to walk into if we decide to give them positions elsewhere, because that does fundamentally change what a senator is for them. And therefore, if we change it for them, we have to change it for the rest of us. And that's all I'm saying. I'm not saying we're making decisions. I'm saying if we do and decide to put them somewhere, or they have this flexibility that we've been talking about, we will then we will then fog the definition of being a senator, what's in the bylaws. And that's all I'm bringing up. That's all I want to bring attention to.
And I was going to bring attention to the fact that we would likely need to make a bylaw change if we do go forward with this. So that's why I wanted to gauge interest and get a conversation started with the senators prior to arranging and doing all that extra work for no reason. Eric.
In the interest of time, we still have a collaboration request to get through, and Vice President Anderson is here for her discussion and presentation. For that reason, I move to table discussion until after Vice President Anderson and the collaboration request have completed their time and business at the meeting.
There has been a motion made to move all
I'll
the.
second that.
There's a second. Is there consent on this?
Consent.
If there is no abstaining, we will come back to this discussion after we get through the time-sensitive materials that we have. Seeing that there is no one against, we can move into the Student Rec Center collaboration request. Bird is here. You want to take over on that, give a little intro?
Absolutely. If everyone is okay with it, I know Dr. Anderson's time is even more valuable than mine. So if she would like to go first with everything, more than happy to sit aside and wait.
No, you're perfectly fine. Go ahead, Bird. You're great. Thanks.
All right. Well, hello, everyone. First off, my name is Mike Brodowski, and I am the Assistant Director of Intramural Sports and Recreation Programs for the Student Recreation Center on our beautiful campus. And what does that all mean? That is just a fancy way of saying that I oversee intramural sports, the climbing wall, and some special event programmings like the Turkey Trot, the oldest race in Kalamazoo. So other than to promote those 3 program areas, I am here today to go into the collaboration efforts for the Student Recreation Center and for the Western Student Association, WSA. First off, just want to take the time to thank all of you for all of the hard work and all the time that you put into everything that you do for WSA. It's really, truly students empowering other students, and we value and truly appreciate everything that you all do at the SRC and for the students on campus. You don't hear thank you enough, so just from me and for everyone else, thank you. Now, let's get back to asking for money. So, we're asking for a $3,000 collaboration effort with the SRC. Now, they may seem like a lot, but what that money is going to. That money is going to go to help offset our costs from intramural sports this semester, fitness classes, and reopening the F45 studio. Reopening the F45 studio alone was $6,000. So this $3,000 collaboration just helps put a dent in that. However, the money isn't just for F45. We're going to take this $3,000 and it will be used to cover all the costs for all the intramural sports that we had to offer everyone for the past semester, whether it be the virtual ones or the in-person sports, and then all the fitness classes. We really want to help keep all those free to low cost to the students. One big thing we are noticing with this day and age with COVID and with all the quarantine and isolation and everything else going on, that mental health is a big issue right now, more so than ever. So we want to help keep these costs free to students so that they can come to the SRC, see that positive reflection of themselves, take a fitness class, forget about all their other troubles that's going on right now just for that short allotment of time. Vice President Theory knows that I preach this all the time for intramurals. Like, intramurals is an escape. Essentially, that's what sports is at its core level. It's an escape from reality. Whether you're playing sports, watching sports, whatever it is, it's your escape. And so we want to help provide a positive escape for students right now in this day and age. So with your help, we can help do that and help offset the cost, so that way we can incorporate everything that we are doing for the students to keep these programs up and alive. So I know I'm long-winded. I can go on for days on tangents on the rec center and how great it is, but I will pass it back to you all to answer any questions that you all may have and what I can do to answer them. And I will give this caveat too, that, you know, with that collaboration, what else is offered in or included in it? It's going to be your sponsorship for the annual turkey trot, which this year WSA will be a part of the first ever virtual race that the campus is holding. So, you know, there's the new tradition that y'all are a part of with that. And then along with WSA on all of our flyers and marketing materials, and on the gram, on the book, the Twitter sphere, all that good social media stuff as well. So what questions can I answer for you all?
Are we putting them in the chat, or do we just unmute?
Is that up to me?
Just drop your names in the chat so we can have a speakers list. But you can go ahead, Senator Lewis.
Okay. Sorry, I was like, was that just open, or I was just gonna do it? But anyway, okay, perfect. I looked at your the list as far as like the outside activities that you have, the fitness trainers and things like that. Moving into the winter, is that gonna where is all of that gonna be moved? Because it's like 4 different things. It's like yoga, like some Zumba stuff. Like, where will all of that be moved to?
Yeah, great. Thank you for asking that, Lewis. So we have already started that transition, moving all of our fitness classes indoors. That was a part of our phase 5 plan. Was to reopen all that stuff, and thankfully we did. Well, of course, now not this week. I mean, this is our only all we had this year, it seems like. But you know, we were able to move it in last week and get all that transition started early, so that way when the weather does break, we can move in. Moving in everything to the aerobic studio, cycle fit studio, and the F45 studio. You know, just going with all the precautions and safety measures that we have put in place to ensure that our programs are safe and everyone can come and enjoy themselves. Like for F45, for some classes, we were able to put 27 people in there and you were rotating. Now it's just 9 and you're staying in your box the whole time. And I know it's all mapped out in the aerobic studio as well as the cycle fit studio as well. And then for intramurals, indoor tennis courts, basketball courts, volleyball courts, all that good stuff.
I could have been wrong, but I thought the purpose with the fitness trainers and things being outside was because you could have a larger space to spread out and not using masks. So obviously, moving back into the rec center, everyone would be required to wear a mask. But what about the space? You talked about it a little bit. So is there going to be more limited as far as the amount of people that would be able to participate in each section unit, or how will that work?
Yep, you're 100% correct. It will be limited. Like when we did our boot camp style fitness class, just going off the ones that I helped instruct, we had say 15 in there on some of them, and now we're reducing to F45 to 9. It's just going off of those safety capacities that we are allotted to by county health and all that good stuff. So yeah, we have everything marked out. We've been real good working with everyone, and you know, it's all set in there. But yeah, I mean, you are right. We can't house as many people as we would at like the intramural fields or the intramural soccer fields compared to the aerobic studio, nor could we ever do that. So, but yeah, just following the limitations and the guidelines that were given to us. Thank you. So, Mr. Vice President, I hope you don't mind me jumping in here. There's a question in the chat for soccer game and IM leagues funded by this fund. It would be if we had soccer this semester, but soccer was not one of the sports that was approved for us to run. Volleyball was, as well as some other individual tournaments. We're hoping that next semester we would put together another collaboration effort with you all to have soccer and basketball and volleyball and some other sports once they get approved that we can. I mean, our hands are tied like everywhere else where we can only do what we've been approved to run. But yes, soccer would be in part of this if we could run it.
Thank you for that answer. Are there any more questions for Mr. Bird?
No Bears game this time, so I'm not as distracted.
Seeing none, I think we're all set. Aaron, if you want to move into discussion. Thanks so much, Mr. Bird. I will be in touch shortly.
I think there was a question in the chat.
So if this funding is approved, the $10 charge fee would be removed.
Yep, and that's if we were to run soccer as well. That $10 fee would be removed, and just know that our league fees for intramural sports, those cover. I mean, how much we charge for IMs doesn't even cover one official at their hourly rate right now. So, whereas we could increase to try to offset all the costs, our priority is to keep all the costs low for all the students. Just, try to do as much as we can to help you all out. But if we were to offer soccer, and then once I put the collaboration effort towards next semester, soccer will be included in this and be run for free, if not at a very, very reduced cost.
All right, I think that was the last one. I'll be in touch, Mr. Bird, shortly. Thank you so much for coming to present to us. Hopefully things go.
Absolutely. Thank you all for your time. Thank you for letting me speak. I love speaking about the rec center and about how we can help students live a positive, active, healthy, and kind lifestyle. Above all, be smart, be safe, be Broncos. Have a great day. Thank you all.
All right. Are there any discussion points on this proposed collaboration? If there is no discussion points, we can move right into voting on it. I'll give you guys a minute and cabinet abstains. All right, the collaboration has been approved. With that, we can move into our guest, Vice President Anderson.
Thank you so much. I'm happy to have the opportunity to speak with you for just a few minutes. One of the things that I wanted to do was share with you a platform that's going to be launching over the next couple of weeks that I think you are going to really like. This is a platform that will really serve as a tool for you, a one-stop online resource that will help you with all things Western. The program is called YOU at Western. I put the site for it in the chat. It's a little further up. I think it's at 443. I don't remember. It's really very simple. It's just you.wmich.edu. And you can get it. This is for you all to have a sneak preview because it's not available to the general public yet. But this is a tool that will provide you on a platform for goal setting and tracking, self-assessments and reflections, and personalized content. So over time, you will be able to use this platform to personalize it for you. It is a platform that will be a way to operationalize Think Big. How many of you were involved in Think Big when we did that on campus? Many of you were here? So if you remember, Think Big, we decided as an institution, our priorities that we were really going to focus on were career, well-being, and purpose. Does that sound familiar? This particular platform uses the very same things, but they're called something different. Here they're called Matter, Thrive, and Succeed. So Matter relates to purpose and connection to others. Thrive is physical and mental health, and Succeed is academic and career success. So this platform, You at Western, will be a place where all of our on-campus resources will be linked to that. So it should make life much easier for you. It's evolving and we're building it now. So there's a team of staff and student affairs that have been really focused on the well-being component of it. There are others that are working on the career success piece of it. But again, over the next couple of weeks, you're going to see a lot of information coming out from Marcom. There's going to be social media. There are students that are working with Marcom that have been able to play in this platform. And the feedback that we're getting from the students that are using it right now is that they're really liking it. And they feel like it's going to be a really useful and helpful tool. So I didn't want it to be announced with you not being aware that it was coming as WSA leadership. So Taylor graciously let me have a few minutes so I could just share that with you. So this is one of the tools that we're using to help you with all of those things: well-being, career, and purpose. The other one that has been available all fall, and I know a lot of students are already using it, is called Wealthtrack. And if you haven't used Wealthtrack yet, I really recommend that you do that. That is a tool that has been purchased by our counseling center. And it is a tool that has all kinds of resources on it for students around the issues of anxiety, depression, stress, college stress. And so it's a tool that actually not only students are using, but faculty and staff are using it. So it's another way that we're trying to provide resources for you as students during this time. We will continue to do it, but we actually started that the beginning of the fall, and we had planned to launch that prior to even knowing about COVID, because it was a way of supporting our move to a stepped care model in our counseling center, because it provides some online resources that are available to you. And what I like about both of these tools, You at Western and the Wealthtrack, they're available to you wherever you are. So November 20th, if many of you decide to not come back after Thanksgiving, these tools will still be available to you. They'll be available to you as you move forward. So just wanted to make you aware of these. Again, it's evolving. I am going to be doing some presentations about this over the course of the next couple of weeks, but I'm starting with you because I felt like starting with WSA was the appropriate and best place to start. I also reached out to GSA, so I'm happy to share the same information with GSA so they're aware of it as well, because these are resources that I think will also be helpful to our graduate students. So any questions that you have for me at this point? I'm just giving you an introduction. So you'll want to get in there and play with it and get much more familiar with it. I honestly haven't had a chance to be in there and play with it as much as I'd like to yet. So I wouldn't really be able to give you a lot of detail. But again, I think the best thing for you to do is to get in there and play with it. It's not public yet, but I was able to get this permission to share this link with you tonight so that you will have a chance to take a look at it.
Are there any immediate questions that we have for Dr. Anderson regarding the new initiative?
How long would it take yet before you officially launch it to WMU?
The announcements are going to start out next week. So I think the intent is within the next 2 weeks, because the plan is to definitely have it launched before people go home or before Thanksgiving. So, because we want that tool to be available to you as you leave. But I believe that the plan was Monday, which is the 9th. That's why I really was glad that Taylor agreed for me to come in today. But, you know, I think they're still working out all the detail, but I think that you'll see it next week sometime.
VP Morris, if you want to ask your question.
Yeah, my question is, I use Wealthtrack pretty daily. I love it, but does you have an app as well, or is it just web-based?
Okay, you know, I should actually know that, but do you think I do? No, I don't know the answer to that. So I am sorry, but I'm going to be honest. I don't know. I'm not sure, but I would hope so. But it's really more than an app. We're calling it a platform. So I think that it's kind of the hub, and then you'll be able to access a lot of resources from it. So I don't think app is as comprehensive as a frame. I think it's a framework and a platform from which a lot of other things will, there'll be a lot of links to other things from it. So I'm not sure it would be considered an app as much as a platform. I don't know if that helps you, but that's the way I understand it.
Thank you.
I see that we've got some people looking at it already and says it
Good. I'm glad. That's why I was hoping. Because I didn't want to spend a lot of time talking at you. I wanted you to get in there and play with it.
right.
So, and I'm happy to come back as I know more and I can bring in some other people. But again, the other thing that I like about it is you're going to be able to customize it for yourself. So as you answer different questions, then it's going to start shooting you information that's more relevant for you. So it's really customizable for each of you individually. And so again, part of it's going to be important that our content experts are really good about making sure we have content. I think right now we've got content in 600 different areas, but we'll be building it over time and expanding it. And so as you have ideas, as you're in there, we would welcome those ideas. But I think the company that we purchased it from has a lot of things in place. But again, there may be things that we want to put in there that are more Western specific that will be helpful to you. So we are really open to that. And I've got a team of people that are going to be working on it and monitoring it and playing with it. So again, we will be looking for a lot of feedback, and I'd be really excited to hear how students respond to it.
There is one question in the chat. Vice President Wright, if you wanted to address it, I can read it.
I was just wondering how much WMU invested in this platform.
You know what? Tony and I split the cost, and I don't remember. It was not as much as you would think it would be. I will get you that number. I don't remember off the top of my head. We paid for it a few months ago, so I will have to ask you. I'll have to find out, and I'll let you know. I cannot remember off the top of my head, but I'm thinking it might be that he and I both put in $15,000, so it might be a total of 30 is what I'm thinking, but I'm not 100% sure. I will get you that number.
And that, just for clarification, that was a one-time fee? Or is it recurring?
The fee to build it, I think, is more, but then there'll be an annual fee after that. So I'll have to get you all those figures.
Okay, I would appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Vice President Effinger.
I just have a quick question. You said there was be our one stop for all things Western. So this kind of see GoWMU phasing out, or is this in addition to GoWMU?
this is really a one-stop shop to help you with your own college experience. So again, this helps you focus on your own goal setting related to your career aspirations, focusing on you in terms of your well-being and the things that matter to you. So that's why it's called You at Western. So it really is focused on you. So there may be things that you're not interested in that won't show up because it will be customized to you based on the responses you provide.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Sounds wonderful.
Mhm.
Senator Shapiro, you had a question?
Yes, hi. I don't know if you said this and I missed it because I was busy looking at it. Who did you buy this service from? Like, who'd you purchase this from?
Oh, you know what? The company?
Yeah.
I don't know. I was not involved in the front end of it. I don't know the name of the company. I think it's actually called, I think it's called YOU because so we did You at Western, but other campuses have purchased it as well. So I believe I am thinking it was created, if I'm not mistaken, at Colorado State, if I'm remembering correctly. I will double check that, but I believe it was Colorado State that actually created this and then developed it so that it could be made applicable on other campuses. But I think that was where it was originated.
Okay, and then did they for the cost of that initial setup cost, did they ever give you like an itemized list of what everything costs, or was that just a flat? They just told you 30,000 into whatever the number was, but your estimate being around 30,000. Did they just say 30,000? That's it, or did they give you like an itemized like here's everything that we're going to put money down towards?
No, it was comprehensive.
Comprehensive. Okay.
Yep.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Senator Lewis.
Two quick questions. The first thing is, what information did you all look at to know that this will work? I know that you said that a couple other universities also have it as well. So what was kind of like the thought behind the program? What is the goal for the program?
The part of it is because when the university made the decision to develop Think Big, that whole design exercise that we went through and made decisions about the fact that we as an institution want to focus on well-being, career, and purpose. When we found this particular platform, we were like, oh my gosh, this is a perfect way to operationalize what we envisioned for the university. So honestly, it was because this was perfectly aligned with there were hundreds of university students, faculty, and staff that came up with that design. And again, this one is aligned with it perfectly. And so that's why we were so interested in it. So that's really why we zeroed in on this.
Next, Vice President Theory.
Thank you. Thank you, Vice President Anderson, for being here today.
You're very welcome. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So without Western students having access to this platform before it was purchased or being able to try it, how confident are you that it'll be successful? Or, what is the risk of not necessarily having the money go to waste, but if a certain number of students don't use it, then at a certain point, you'd have diminishing returns of the value of this platform.
Yeah, so before we actually decided to purchase it, there were a lot of people involved in reviewing it. And one of the people that was involved in reviewing it is Carrie Robertson. If you know Carrie, she's in charge of health promotion and education over in Syracuse. And she works with a lot of students. The peer educators work through her office. And she always is really good about getting lots of student input before making decisions. So I'm confident that there was a lot of thought put into this before we did it. So, but again, if we roll it out and students aren't using it, if we decide that it's not something we want to continue to invest in, we can make that decision. But based on everything we've seen and heard and the research we did, we think this is something that is going to be really helpful to students. It doesn't serve anybody if it ends up not meeting that mark, but that's the goal.
Vice President Morris, you had a question.
Yeah,
They'll ask
I
you
think
questions.
Henry had a follow-up
I'll do
question.
questions.
Yeah, I just have a quick follow-up. So were any students directly involved? I know there were some staff that you mentioned that were involved in evaluating this program, but were any students directly involved in providing feedback to administration on their opinions on this platform?
I believe there were. I can't tell you how many, but I can go back and ask that question. But there were a lot of people that reviewed it. So I believe that there were, but again, I cannot give you a number.
Vice President Morris.
Thank you. So my question is I know that we mentioned Marcom is going to be pushing this out in the next few weeks. How else are we promoting it? Is this something that will be implemented into FYE? Is it going to be on the Go WMU page next to Experience WMU? Like, how are students going to be able to access it easily? But then how are they even going to find out about it?
It's going to be a comprehensive campaign educating people about it. So there will be social media pushes. There's going to be there are several presentations scheduled there, but social media, there'll be announcements about it, social media, articles about it. So again, it's going to be a comprehensive campaign to let people, to make people aware.
Awesome. Vice President.
Oh, someone found the company. There you go. Excellent. Grit Digital Health. There you go.
Vice President Scheller.
Hi, Dr. Anderson. I have a question about, it sounds like this is a really cool program. Can it work to like change and adapt to students' needs? It kind of sounds like that, but if there was something students wanted to add to the program in the future, what sort of is the process to kind of increasing the effectiveness for students?
That's an excellent question. And yes, I believe there are opportunities to shape it. So we, I think part of what we should do when we put out our communication is let you know who the team is that's behind it, that is working on the content. And I'm happy to do that. So we can conclude that in the communication that rolls out. So if students have feedback or suggestions or thoughts, we need to provide a tool for how you can provide that to us. So I will make that recommendation as the rollout happens so that you can have that information directly.
If there are no more questions, we can thank Dr. Anderson for her time.
Thank you, and thank you for your great questions. You all asked really good questions, and I will follow up with the ones I couldn't answer. So thank you. And I think I'm on tap for 5:30 for another group.
Mm-hmm.
So should I just stay on this one or I get on another one?
It'll be another link.
Okay, thank you. All right, thanks. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
All right. With that, we do have 2 minutes left of the meeting, and we move the Senator at Large discussion to after Dr. Anderson's speaking. So we would move back into that right now.
I would entertain a motion to table until our next meeting.
We would be tabling that because we also have one more announcement, and then that's the rest of our meeting.
Motion to table everything until the next meeting.
There's a second. Is there consent?
Consent.
Consent has been called. If there was no one abstaining, I will entertain a motion to adjourn at 5:29.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
There, consent.
Consent.
Consent has been called, and seeing that there is no one objecting.